If you are planning a trip to Barcelona, there are some things that you need to know. But don't worry, I am here to help you out. If you're new here, my name is Claire and I make videos about responsible and overland travel. Barcelona is one of the most popular cities to visit in Europe. It sees up to 15 million tourists per year and it is home to some of the most iconic buildings in the Iberian Peninsula. So it's no surprise that Barcelona tourism is a hot topic. However, like all very touristy cities, it is really important that you do a few things while you're there and avoid doing some others. So without further ado, let's delve into this list of common lies about Barcelona that not many other vloggers talk about. Number one is that it is Catalonia, not Spain. Well, it is Spain. It's geographically in Spain. But most people who are from Barcelona and from all of Catalonia don't consider themselves to be Spanish. They consider themselves to be Catalonian. And when you're visiting countries, I think it is really, really important to respect local people's opinions and ideas about where they're from above everything else. So while there are plenty of people who do think that Barcelona is just a Spanish city and don't think that Catalonia has as much authority or as autonomy as people in Catalonia think, I think when you're in Catalonia, you should be respecting Catalonian people's opinions and ideas. So I think it is prudent to recognise Barcelona's Catalonian culture rather than just think of it as just another Spanish city. So you'll see Barcelona's Catalonian culture everywhere. You'll see it in the buildings. The buildings are Catalonian. They're not typical of the rest of Spain, at least a lot of the historic ones are not. Obviously, you'll see it in the language. Locals speak Catalonian first. They do learn Spanish in schools and they can all speak Spanish, but they speak Catalonian. Catalonian is not a dialect of Spanish. Catalonian is a separate language. It is from the same Romance family, but so is French, Italian and Portuguese. Now, I have struggled a bit with this on my few trips to Barcelona because I do speak conversational Spanish. Not fluent, but conversational. I don't speak any Catalonian apart from the odd word. Also, a lot of people in Barcelona aren't necessarily from Barcelona. A lot of people are from elsewhere in Spain or from elsewhere in the Spanish-speaking world. So Spanish is still spoken a lot, but if you are speaking to someone from Catalonia and you know they're from Catalonia, it is polite to say bon dia instead of buenos dias and gracias, I think it is said. They also say adieu, I think, instead of adios. So there are some quite notable differences in lots of the words. You'll also see Catalan culture in the flags flying. So Catalan has its own flag, and very interesting fact, it has a star on the flag. And this actually represents the flags of Puerto Rico and Cuba. And that is because these were the last two countries to get independence from Spain. Catalan has made this flag to say, we will be next. Whether Catalan will become independent is a story for another day. I don't know enough about it, but it is a very interesting topic of conversation. And like I say, I think the most important thing to do when you're in Barcelona is to respect that. So the next lie about Barcelona is that people hate tourists there. People don't hate tourists. I've been to Barcelona a few times. I've never felt any animosity towards me. People do hate over-tourism and they hate the negative things that tourism has done to the city, which is completely understandable. It is the same in lots of touristy cities all over Europe and the world. You know, it's the same in Amsterdam, in Venice, in places in Thailand like Pai, probably Bali. Like, this is a problem, this is a global problem we are facing, and it doesn't mean that people don't want tourists full stop, but it just means that people want tourists to behave a bit differently. So, for example, I was walking around Barcelona, I found some really lovely quiet streets, even in the Gothic quarter. I got lost in those streets for ages, found some lovely hidden spots. I then went to Poble Nou and saw the street art there, that was gorgeous. But what they don't really want tourists doing is there's a lot of shops selling very much tourist chat, which is very like brash in your face. There's a lot of like very rowdy, drunk, obviously go and have some drinks, you know, it's Spain, they love a sangria, they love a vino, but it's the over the top, drunken, loud, like way that people are imposing their kind of culture on Barcelona, and it's the influx of tourists as well. So I have done a whole video about how to visit places more responsibly, and there's loads of ideas in that. But a few ways that are particular to Barcelona are visit outside of summer, it is a lot quieter. Just be be respectful, find hidden gems rather than the popular destinations. Obviously, if you really want to go see the Sagrada Familia, go and see the Sagrada Familia. I don't think anyone in Barcelona is against tourists going to see the Sagrada Familia, but make sure you factor in some time to see some of the hidden gems as well. And there is one very important point which I'm going to get onto next. So the next lie about Barcelona is that you should stay in an Airbnb. You should not stay in an Airbnb in Barcelona. So this is actually one of the biggest issues that locals have towards tourists in Barcelona, is that people are coming in and they're staying in Airbnbs. So what happens when people stay in Airbnb? They then create a demand for Airbnbs. When there's a demand for Airbnbs, people create more and more Airbnbs. People are buying these flats and then they are putting them on the short-term rental market, and they're making quite a lot of money, because think about it. If you pay, what, £1,000 for an apartment in Barcelona for a week, that's £4,000 for a month. Locals do not pay that much. So this means that more and more landlords are focusing on short-term rentals rather than renting out to locals, and that means that locals cannot have a place to live. This happens all over the world, but in places like Barcelona it has supercharged. So this means that locals have effectively been priced out of their own city, and it is a huge problem. They're actually banning Airbnbs in Barcelona from 2028. But it's 2024. So you can not be a part of the problem by stopping staying in Airbnbs in Barcelona from now. Now, I have stayed in Airbnbs in European cities. It is something that now I know what I know, I am going to try and significantly cut down on / completely stop doing. But it's all about doing what you can as far as practical and possible. If there is a reason why you need an apartment, then maybe this isn't possible for you. But if you can very easily stay in a hotel, a locally run guest house, or an alternative accommodation, then that might be worth looking into. I stayed in 2 different types of accommodation when I was in Barcelona last. One was a very affordable guest house. It was actually the cheapest guest house that I found in Barcelona. Made a whole video about it. It's up there if you want to have a look at it. You can learn all about that in that video. It was okay. I was only there for a night. It was okay for a night. There's lots of other guest houses all over the city as well. The other place that I stayed was a boat hotel. Again, I've made a video, you can check it out. Now this was a really interesting place to stay because it was a boat parked in a marina, and obviously that doesn't take up an apartment or anything like that, but it was self-contained. I had my own little kitchenette, my own bathroom. There were 2 sleeping areas, although I was only staying there on my own, and there was some outdoor space as well. So those are some good alternatives. There's also plenty of hotels. Obviously some of the chain hotels don't benefit the local economy as much, but I think most people would agree that they are better than Airbnbs. Okay, I might ruffle some feathers with this one. I don't think the Sagrada Familia is the best part of Barcelona. I'm not for a second saying don't visit the Sagrada Familia. I do think the Sagrada Familia is very striking. I did go inside and I did find it to be too busy and too stressful, and I couldn't really enjoy it. So I would definitely recommend sitting outside of the Sagrada Familia. I don't think you necessarily have to go inside unless you are particularly interested in Gaudi, architecture or churches. My favourite Gaudi part of the city is Park Güell, which also does get busy. I was there in November. I didn't go there last time I was in Barcelona, I went there the time before, and it was quiet then. But it does get very, very busy. I also loved the kind of alternative areas, mentioned it before, but Poblenou, I loved having a walk around there, seeing the street art. So there are so many areas of Barcelona that aren't just the Sagrada Familia. So yeah, I'm not saying don't visit, but I'm just saying, as my subjective opinion, there are better areas. Let me know what you think of the Sagrada Familia in the comments. My next thing to know about Barcelona is that you need to be careful. So a lot of people, I think, don't realise how bad Barcelona can be for pickpocketing. I have been to Barcelona 4 times. Pickpocketing has nearly happened to me twice. Compare that to walking around the streets of London. I've walked around the streets of London, don't know, probably over 1,000 days in my life, and that's never happened to me. And London does have a high pickpocketing rate. So last time I was in Barcelona, I had a man come up to me and ask me for the time, and I said the time. I said the time in English, and then I said the time in Spanish, and he didn't seem to understand me at all, and he just pointed at my phone and said, "Show me your phone." And I was like, no, and then I just ran away. The time before, I'm pretty sure it was a pickpocketing attempt. I was on the Las Ramblas and I was walking along. Someone basically kind of like fell on me and kind of put their hand as if to go in my pocket, but it was zipped up. Pickpocketing happens in Barcelona. It happens a lot in Barcelona. I don't think violent crime happens very often, but you do need to be really, really, really careful with pickpocketing. When my sister was planning a trip to Barcelona, I said to her, honestly, it is one of the worst cities in Europe for pickpocketing. So yeah, that is one of my top Barcelona travel tips, is just be careful of pickpocketing. Another one of the lies about Barcelona is that it is year-round warm. Barcelona is in the north of Spain. It is warmer than a lot of places in Europe, don't get me wrong. Like when we were there in November, we just needed a light jacket, but we did still need a jacket. I was just there in September and it wasn't hot. I mean, it was warm, but when it was cloudy, it got a little bit chilly. So don't think that Barcelona is like tropical, because it's really not. And it's actually, you do notice the change of climate even from the south of Spain. So if you're visiting in winter, you do still need to take some layers. It doesn't really snow. I'm sure there have been recorded like rarities of snow, but snow isn't a common occurrence or anything. But it isn't hot in the winter. Hopefully this one won't ruffle some feathers. It shouldn't do. But Barcelona's beaches aren't actually amazing. So Barcelona's beaches were actually all imported in 1992 for the Olympics, when the Olympics was hosted in Barcelona. They used sand from Egypt to build these beaches. So they're all man-made and they're fine. They're very functional. They have a lot of amenities, activities on them, but they aren't great beaches. They aren't like stunning beaches. If I'm honest, we have nicer beaches here in Devon. However, there are some very nice beaches around Barcelona. So Barcelona is on the Costa Brava, and there are some stunning beaches all along that coastline, just not in Barcelona centre. If you want to go on a coastal day trip, Sitges is probably the best place, and it is a very popular coastal town near Barcelona. The last lie that people say about Barcelona is that you can see the city in a day. You can't see the city in a day at all. Barcelona is a big city. It's not as big as London or Paris, but it has a wealth of things to do, and it is quite spread out. So it's not like some of the cities where you'll have like the old city and all the attractions will be in there. Like the Sagrada Familia is quite far from the Gothic Quarter, and Casa Miller and Casa Batlló are quite near each other, but they're also quite spread out from other attractions. Then you've got Barceloneta, which is all along the coast. So you can walk around it. You will do a lot of walking if you walk around. There is also a very good metro link, but you're not going to be able to see all of it in one day, and don't try to, because you'll just stress yourself out. I feel like this is a common like misconception, because there are a lot of cruises that stop in Barcelona, but they only scratch the surface. To really see Barcelona, I think you probably need like 5 days. I've spent maybe a week there in total in all of my trips, but definitely like at least 3 days to see the highlights. So the highlights of Barcelona include things like obviously the Sagrada Familia, and then you might want to go into some of Gaudi's other buildings like Casa Mila, Casa Batlló. There's also Casa de las Vinçons, which I've never been, but I have been planning to. That was one of his first buildings, and that's meant to be one of the best hidden gems in Barcelona. Then there's all the plazas where you can sit and enjoy sangria. There's all the tapas bars. Then there's Parc Güell. There's Camp Nou, if you're a football fan, that's where Barcelona play. There's obviously all of the coastline, and then there's all the underrated areas as well. So I've spoke about Pobla Nou quite a lot. I really enjoyed my time there. Then there's areas like Gracia, and there's El Raval as well. So there's loads and loads of areas to explore, and you're going to need a few days to see all of them. I had 2 days on this trip, but I have been to Barcelona before. And if you haven't watched my other videos so far, I was actually there on a DIY cruise. So basically I took 4 ferries over 4 nights, and I wanted to see if it could be a more sustainable and cheaper alternative to traditional cruising. So I started in Barcelona, and then I went to 4 other destinations around the Mediterranean. Loads and loads of videos on that to come, so if you are interested, do follow along. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was La Rambla, and just the lie that is La Rambla. I mean, it's not a lie. Just, I don't understand why it is such a tourist hotspot. It's a street, like a boulevard. There's a pedestrian area to walk down. It is nice at Christmas, actually. There's lots of Christmas like markets, decorations and stuff, but it is overpriced. Everything at La Rambla is overpriced, and it is a pickpocketing hotspot. So in all honesty, my Barcelona travel advice would be to spend as little time on La Rambla as possible. I think that is pretty much it for this Barcelona travel guide. If you are new here, I run a newsletter called the Better Travel Newsletter, and it's all about traveling better. more sustainably. I talk about overland travel a lot. I talk about responsible travel, and it just has actionable and practical tips, not preachy, but just ideas on how we can all travel a little bit better. It's totally free and it includes news, discounts, tips, downloadable ebooks and much more. So if you are interested in subscribing to that, the link is in my description. Thank you so much for watching this video. I've also got loads of blog posts about Barcelona, so if you are planning a trip to Barcelona, then do have a little look in the description. I'll link them all there, and that can help you with your trip planning. If you're sticking around, I really recommend you watch this video. This is all about overtourism in Barcelona, and it's just a vlog of my time there and my thoughts about overtourism while I was there. If you like this video, you'll love this one. And if you've not subscribed already, please do, as I'll be posting all about my DIY cruise over the coming weeks. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope I will see you next time.